In the year 793, under the haunting glow of the aurora borealis that danced across the Scandinavian skies, a harbinger of fate, whether doom or deliverance, descended from above. The night was eerily still. Even the winds seemed to hold their breath, and the North Sea whispered softly against the rugged shorelines of the Norse lands. It was on this fateful night that the cosmos revealed its deepest secrets, not to the mighty empires of the south, but to the fierce and proud Viking warriors of the north. Atop the highest watchtower of his village stood Erik Thorvaldsson, known as Erik the Red, both for his flaming hair and his fiery temper. His sharp eyes scanned the dark horizon, a habit honed by years of guarding against enemy clans and wild beasts. But this night something different drew his attention. Far above, among the stars, a bright silvery object descended, swift, silent and strange. It grew larger as it approached, a vessel unlike any bird or cloud. It shimmered with star-like lights and was made of a smooth, gleaming metal the likes of which Erik had never seen. It landed deep in the ancient forest that bordered the village, a sacred place where the old gods were said to roam. The ground shook gently, and a hissing sound like steam escaping a boiling kettle echoed through the trees. Erik quickly gathered his warriors. They armed themselves with axes and shields, their expressions a mix of awe and unease. These were men of legend, raised on stories of Odin and Thor. Yet tonight they were stepping into the unknown. As they approached the clearing, the forest seemed to open before them, as if nature itself was holding its breath. There, bathed in moonlight and its own ghostly glow, sat the vessel, otherworldly, seamless, and humming with mysterious power. Before Erik could command a strategy, the craft began to move. Without a sound, a ramp slowly descended, and from within stepped beings unlike any the Norse had ever imagined. They were tall and graceful, their skin glowing with a soft, iridescent shimmer. Their large, unblinking eyes held an ancient calm. Clad in robes that mirrored the night sky, they looked like living stars. They did not speak aloud. Instead, their thoughts echoed directly inside the minds of Erik and his warriors. "We come in peace, children of Earth." The message rang through their minds like a chorus of voices as old as time itself. The fierce Vikings, usually quick to fight, stood motionless, weapons lowered, hearts pounding, and minds caught between fear and wonder. In the year 793, under the mysterious glow of the aurora borealis that covered the skies of Scandinavia, a sign, either of doom or salvation, appeared. The night was strangely quiet. The winds seemed to hold their breath, and the waves of the North Sea softly whispered against the rugged shores of the Norse lands. On this fateful evening, the universe decided to reveal its most guarded secrets, not to the powerful southern kingdoms, but to the brave and proud Viking warriors of the north. Erik Thorvaldsson, known among his people as Erik the Red for his bright red hair and equally fiery temper, stood on top of the highest watchtower in his village. His sharp eyes scanned the horizon, a habit formed over years of watching for enemy clans and wild creatures. But tonight, his eyes weren't drawn to movement on the sea. Instead, they were fixed on a strange sight in the stars, a bright silver object slowly descending from the sky. Its shape became clearer as it neared the earth. It wasn't a bird or a cloud, but a craft made of shining metal, glowing with lights that sparkled like the stars themselves. The craft landed deep in the thick forest near their village, a sacred place where the old gods were believed to walk. The ground shook under its weight, and a hissing sound like steam rising from a boiling kettle filled the air. Erik quickly gathered his warriors, who armed themselves with axes and shields, their faces showing both wonder and fear. These men were born to fight, believed to be descendants of Odin himself, according to the old legends. But tonight, they were about to face something no tale had ever spoken of. As they moved closer, the forest seemed to open a path for them. An eerie silence surrounded the entire area. There, in a moonlit clearing, the strange craft stood, unearthly and majestic, glowing not just from the moonlight but also from its own mysterious light. Its surface was smooth, with no seams, and it gave off a low hum that could be felt through the very ground. Before Eric and his warriors could form a plan, the craft opened without warning. A ramp slowly lowered to the earth, and from the opening stepped out beings unlike anything the Norse had ever known. They were tall and otherworldly, their skin glowing with a rainbow-like shimmer. Their eyes were large and unblinking. Wearing clothes that reflected the night sky, they didn't speak with words. Instead, their thoughts appeared directly inside the minds of Eric and his warriors. "We come in peace, children of Earth." The message echoed silently within their minds, like a chorus of voices older than time itself. The Vikings, fierce and fearless, found themselves frozen in place, weapons held loosely in slightly trembling hands. Hands that now trembled slightly. Eric, ever the leader, stepped forward, his voice steady. "What brings you to our lands? Speak so that we may understand your purpose." His words were bold, but inside, his mind raced with memories of ancient legends, tales of sky gods and celestial battles whispered around the fires at night. The aliens responded not with more words, but with a vision, a glimpse of the universe beyond. They showed countless worlds and the danger that now threatened not just Earth but all of existence. They warned of an ancient enemy, a force of darkness and hunger, that devoured both light and life. And now, because of Earth's growing energy, this enemy had noticed the planet. The Vikings listened, captivated and horrified, as the aliens offered a proposal, an alliance. Together they could resist this cosmic threat. The cost. The Vikings would gain knowledge and power beyond anything they could imagine. But they would also have to fight, not only to protect their homes, but to defend the planet itself. Eric turned to look at his men, their faces lit by the strange glow. Each one showed the inner struggle between the courage that ran through their blood, and the deep fear of the unknown. He turned back to the beings before him. His heart was certain. "We are the sons and daughters of Odin, warriors of the North. We will stand with you, not out of fear, but for the glory of Valhalla and for the survival of our world." And so, under the shimmering northern lights, an unlikely alliance was formed, one that would soon be tested by fire and blood, as the Vikings and their celestial visitors prepared for the darkness that sought to devour the stars. The saga of the stars had begun, marking the greatest battle the Vikings would ever face. As the aurora borealis danced above, casting a ghostly light over the land, the village of Erik Thorvaldsson braced itself for the changes that the arrival of the aliens, soon known as the Starborn, would bring. The days following their arrival were filled with a mix of fear and awe. The Starborn, with their glowing presence and advanced wisdom, shared deep knowledge of the universe. In return, they wished to learn the ways of the Norse, their strength, their endurance, and their deep bond with the earth. Among the Starborn there was Alyana, a being of light and wisdom, whose beauty rivaled the northern dawn. She moved with a grace that disguised her true strength, her eyes reflecting the depth of the universe itself. It was Alyana who took a special interest in Eric, drawn to his fearless spirit and the noble heart that beat within his warrior's chest. Eric, in return, found himself equally fascinated by Alyana. She was unlike any woman he had ever known. Her mind a galaxy of thoughts and feelings, her presence both soothing and exhilarating. During the long evenings beneath the twilight of the midnight sun, they shared stories of their people. They found comfort and connection in the understanding that quietly blossomed between them. Love, it seemed, could bloom even in the most unexpected of places, bridging the vast distance between stars and Earth. However, not everyone welcomed this growing bond between human and starborn. Torald, Eric's childhood friend and fiercest rival, watched with growing bitterness. He saw the aliens not as allies but as invaders, outsiders who might corrupt their traditions and change their way of life forever. Torald's resentment grew silently. His once brotherly affection for Eric turned into deep jealousy, fueled by his own hidden love for Alyana, a feeling he buried beneath a mask of stoic loyalty. As autumn faded and the nights grew longer, the village prepared for the coming celestial war. Weapons forged from earthly iron were now fused with starborn technology, creating tools of power never seen before. The village became a forge, not only of metal but of alliances. Yet beneath that surface, the seeds of betrayal had already been sown. One cold evening, as Eric and Alyana walked together along the cliffs overlooking the sea, the air thick with the scent of pine and coming snow, Torald set his plan into motion. Disguised as a training mission, he led a group of warriors deep into the forest, not to hunt or train, but to meet with a secret faction of dissenters who refused to accept the alliance with the Starborn. With intense conviction, Torald addressed them, his voice sharp in the cold night air. These beings bring more than knowledge. They bring the end of our ways, the slow loss of who we are. We must protect our people and our traditions. Eric is blinded by affection, charmed by alien beauty. We must save him. And ourselves, even if it means going against him. His words struck a chord with those already uncertain. Whispers of rebellion began to spread, driven by fear and misunderstanding, slowly unraveling the fragile trust that had been so carefully built. Meanwhile, unaware of the storm that was rising, Eric and Alyana stood hand in hand. Gazing at the stars above, Alyana softly asked, her voice like a melody woven from distant suns. In your beliefs, the stars are the realms of the gods, are they not? Eric nodded, his voice heavy with feeling. Yes, and perhaps they are. But tonight I see in them not gods, but the hope of a shared future, no matter how uncertain it may be. Their peaceful moment, however, did not last long. The conflict between old fears and new hopes, between earthly loyalty and celestial duty, was building to a breaking point, threatening the bonds of love and the loyalty of friendship. The saga of the Norse and the Starborn was far from over, and the shadows of betrayal were growing, ready to swallow them all in darkness. As winter tightened its icy grip on the village, the alliance between the Norse and the Starborn faced its most serious test. The whispers of doubt that Torald had once spread now grew into loud rumblings of open rebellion. Divisions formed, not just across the snow-covered land, but deep within the hearts of families and friends. The village, once united under the strong leadership of Eric, now stood divided, its people torn between loyalty and fear. Amidst the cold and confusion, Eric struggled to hold the village together. His nights were haunted by dreams of betrayal. He had sensed the growing unease, but hoped his deep bond with Alyana, and the clear benefits the alliance brought, would be enough to quiet any unrest. Yet he had underestimated the strength of fear, the kind of fear that even the bravest warriors could not ignore. Torald, using that fear, had transformed into a charismatic leader. Torald had become a leader for those who stood against the integration of alien knowledge and technology into their traditional way of life. He held secret gatherings in the shadowed woods, where the glow of torches flickered like the very flames of rebellion. We must reclaim our heritage, he would declare, his voice filled with conviction, before it disappears beneath the stars. One evening, as the northern lights flared above, painting the sky with visions of celestial battles, Alyana approached Eric, her expression troubled. Her ability to sense the emotional energy of the village had revealed the depth of the divide. Eric, the hearts of your people are unsure, she said, her voice echoing with the sorrow of the cosmos. Fear is pushing them into darkness. We must guide them back with light, not with force. Eric nodded, his face set with grim determination. I will speak to them at the thinging tomorrow, he said. I will remind them of who we are, and what we stand for, together. But as dawn broke over the village, bringing the day of the long-awaited assembly, a shocking discovery threatened to destroy everything Eric and Alyana had worked so hard to build. The main storehouse, where the Starborn had placed some of their most valuable technological gifts, was found engulfed in flames, the fire rising high into the sky, a furious scar against the pale morning light. Suspicion quickly fell on the dissenters, and cries for revenge echoed through the village, further fueling the flames of division. Amid the growing chaos, Torald saw his chance. As the villagers gathered, Torald stood not with the accused, but among those demanding justice. See what fear of the unknown has brought upon us, he shouted, his voice ringing out across the crowd. We must protect our people, reject these foreign influences, before we lose everything that makes us who we are. Eric, standing tall before his people, felt the crushing weight of leadership like never before. He raised his hands, calling for silence. His eyes moved across the crowd, faces filled with confusion, anger, and fear. This fire, he began, his voice steady, is a tragedy, but let it not destroy our sense of justice. We must not allow fear to control our actions. As he spoke, pleading for unity and understanding, Alyana stood quietly by his side, her presence a silent sign of the hope for harmony between worlds. Yet, even as Eric spoke of peace, a figure slipped silently through the crowd, a shadow with purpose. It was Freya, a young warrior loyal to Torald. She had overheard a secret plan, one far more dangerous, designed to destroy the alliance completely. Racing against time, Freya pushed through the tightly packed crowd toward where Alyana stood. Her breaths came out as sharp puffs of mist in the cold morning air. As she reached the Starborn, she gasped. A plot! Her loyalty to Eric now stronger than her allegiance to Torald. Freya spoke quickly. They mean to take you hostage. To force Eric to turn against your people. Alyana's eyes widened, not with fear, but with a determination that matched Eric's own. As the assembly descended into heated arguments, Eric and Alyana exchanged a glance, an unspoken understanding passing between them. Freya's warning had revealed the truth, and now their bond and their leadership faced its ultimate test. The chapter of betrayal had reached its climax. The true strength of their alliance was about to be revealed, standing at the edge of treason and the brink of war. The tale of the Norse and the Starborn, bound by fate, was far from over. And as the darkness of winter loomed over them like a great shadow, it remained to be seen whether that shadow would swallow the light, or be banished by it. As the harsh winds of winter howled through the village, the air grew thick with a tension strong enough to rival the fiercest storm. The discovery of the plot to kidnap Alyana had sent shockwaves through the community, further splitting it, between those who still believed in the alliance, and those who were now driven by fear to destroy it entirely. In the icy pre-dawn hours, Eric and Alyana called an emergency council with their most trusted advisors and warriors. They discussed not only how to protect the Starborn, but also how to restore unity within the village. Freya, once a follower of Torald but now a vital ally, revealed the full scope of the dissenters' plan. They will strike at the Feast of Yule, she said, her voice calm despite the weight of her words. When the village gathers and our defenses are down. Eric nodded solemnly, his resolve hardening. Then we must be ready. We will prove that we are stronger together, that our future lies not in fear, but in the bonds we forge. The days leading up to the Yule feast were filled with urgency. Eric, Alyana, and their allies worked without rest, preparing defenses, but also reaching out to those influenced by Torald's message, hoping to heal the divisions through both action and truth. Alyana shared more of her people's advanced knowledge, healing the sick with futuristic medicine, and teaching the villagers how to harness energy from the earth and sun in sustainable ways. Her efforts became a clear, living example of the gifts the Starborn brought, and the peace they offered. With the help of advanced technology, the village slowly transformed into a place of cautious hope as the Yule feast approached. Torches and bonfires lit up the cold night, casting long shadows across the snowy paths. The villagers gathered in the great hall, the air rich with the aroma of roasted meats, freshly baked bread, and the scent of pine boughs decorating the wooden walls. Eric stood proudly before his people, Alyana at his side, his voice carrying the calm power of a leader who had seen both conflict and peace. Tonight, he began, we gather not as Norse or Starborn, but as one community, united against a shared threat. Let us show those who doubt us that we do not fear the darkness, that together we can light the path forward. As the feast continued, the hall filled with music, laughter, and the warm glow of unity, a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Outside, hidden in the darkness beyond the hall's light, Torald and his followers watched silently. Their plans had unraveled, thwarted by the clear unity between the two peoples. The dissenters, once full of purpose, now stood uncertain. Their numbers were too few. Their conviction began to fade as they witnessed the genuine friendship and cooperation blossoming between villagers and starborn alike.